Hello and welcome. I'm Debbie Bergio. Today we are joined by Kathryn Matthews, functional health coach, who will be sharing with us her wisdom and knowledge on boosting our energy naturally in 30 days. Kathryn, I am so glad that you are here with us today. I could use some of this information today.
Debbie, thank you for having me, and thank you for that introduction. Yes, we're going to be talking about how to boost your energy naturally in 30 days, and these are tips that every busy person needs to know. So before we jump in, I'm just going to share my disclaimer, and I'm just going to read it verbatim, but the information that I'm sharing with you in this webinar is based on both my personal health journey and my many years of working with clients, and this information is for educational purposes only. It's not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you have regarding a medical condition and before starting any diet, dietary supplement, exercise, or other health program. It is your responsibility to use the information that's provided in this webinar in a way that feels best for you. So take what resonates and leave the rest. Okay, so that's my disclaimer. And a little bit about me. I am a board certified functional health coach. I'm also a behavioral coach. And essentially, I work with people to help them improve their health through their food choices and lifestyle habits. I also specialize in gut health, hormone balance, and food sensitivities. And I'm the creator of The Nourished Epicurean, a website that features natural health news, healthy lifestyle tips, and delicious recipes. So here's how to find me. If this webinar resonates with you, these are ways you can find me. You can use DuckDuckGo browser. I tend to use DuckDuckGo these days because Google suppresses any kind of natural health information. But go to DuckDuckGo as your browser and type in The Nourished Epicurean and I'll pop up. You can also reach me by email if you have any questions or want to connect with me. I'm at Kathryn at Kathryn-Matthews.com. And my website has two URLs, thenourishedepicurean.com and Kathryn-Matthews.com. You can find me at Pinterest, but I'd say the best way to connect with me is through my e-newsletter, which goes out about once or twice a month. And it's chock full of healthy living tips, delicious recipes, and invitations to online events that are delivered right into your inbox. And there's the link right there. It's essentially thenourishedepicurean.com/newsletter. And this will be posted in the show notes too. And those, the links of where you can reach me will be on Debbie's website page, which is resourcefair.wintergrace.org. So, that's where you can find the replay of the webinar as well as links to connect with me. Now, we're talking about energy today and how to boost it naturally. And my intention for you today is to understand how making simple mindset, food, and lifestyle shifts can dramatically boost your energy. And today, what you're going to learn is the importance of identifying energy robbers, which foods are secretly draining your energy, and one simple but effective strategy to avoid that mid-afternoon crash and the attendant sugar cravings, the fastest way to increase your energy without supplements or caffeine, and 5 powerhouse energy boosting foods that you can start incorporating right now. So what I'd like you to do if you're watching this webinar is just take a moment and to be fully present, put away all your electronic distractions, paper, turn off the news, because multitasking in and of itself can be an energy drain. And this is something that we all collectively have to kind of work on. Okay, so fatigue and low energy are exceedingly common. It's the reason why I created this talk, because so many of my clients would come in and say, I'm low energy, I'm tired all the time. I'd hear it with friends and family. And it's very pervasive, but it is not normal, okay? It's not normal to be exhausted all the time. And if you are experiencing low energy, know that this can absolutely change. And I am sharing with you today those strategies to do that. So what is energy? In physics, energy is defined as the capacity to perform work, right? And then in various cultural traditions also identify a vital energy, sometimes they call it a life force, that guides your mental and physical processes. For example, in Chinese culture, this is called Qi, and traditional Chinese medicine describes Qi as the body's inherent wisdom in maintaining homeostasis, or it's, the body's ability to regulate its internal environment, breathing, things like breathing, your heart rate, your blood pressure, to create good health. Okay. Now, I just want you to close your eyes for a second and imagine, what would it be like to have good energy? And if you've never really experienced good energy or stable energy, hopefully after this webinar, you'll be closer to that place. So let's imagine you have really good energy. You wake up without an alarm. You actually say no thank you to a morning cup of coffee because you simply don't need it. You feel energized all day. You are stress resilient versus stress reactive. Your mood is stable. You're patient with the people around you. You're focused and productive. And you have energy to do what you love to do instead of feeling like, oh, you're just getting by, right? So some of us don't realize, just because we take it for granted that because of our lifestyle, that in fact, we're very energy depleted, right? So you're in the right place if you desperately need a cup of coffee or 3 before you can function in the morning. You wish you could have more and steady energy throughout the day. You feel exhausted and drained the moment you sit down and take a break. You lack patience, you're snapping at your children, your friends, your coworkers. You always find yourself craving sugar in the afternoon to get through the rest of the day. Your lack of energy gets in the way of exercising and or preparing healthy meals. And you just feel like the things that you once loved to do, those activities, are an energy depleting chore, excuse me. So before we dive in, I just wanted to share my story with you a little bit on experiencing very low energy. I mean, it really took me to the rock bottom. I grew up in a very dysfunctional family household. There was a lot of rage, anger, shouting. And so what I started to develop this habit around the age of 11 of, I would retreat to my bedroom after dinner, and I would pretend to do my homework. I would pretend to do my homework and just let all the chaos keep happening outside my bedroom door. And then when everybody went to bed, my parents, my sisters, I would creep downstairs and I would watch television until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, or I might journal. And unfortunately, these night owl habits carried into my adult life, college, graduate school, and even in my professional working life. I would sometimes stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning and keep working. I had a type A personality, very driven. I was a workaholic. I had a lot of guilt because of the way I was raised around not being productive. And I was also a recovering perfectionist. And when you take on so many things and you want it to be perfect, it takes a lot of energy and it takes a lot of time. And I was addicted to sugar and caffeine for energy to help me get through that. And it was like this for decades, literally. And so this went on until I'd say about 8 years ago, when I literally could not get out of bed. I was so exhausted, even when I slept 8 to 10 hours, I could not get out of bed. I was just totally exhausted. I just had a total physical breakdown. And when I finally connected with a doctor who ran a whole battery of tests, he diagnosed me with hypothyroidism. It happens to be Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune thyroid disease where your immune system is attacking your thyroid tissue. And I also had hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis dysregulation, which in the popular lexicon is known as adrenal fatigue, but mine was like one level above that. It was adrenal exhaustion. So I spent about 10 months really recovering. I couldn't even work because I didn't have the energy. And that was when I really made some of the changes in my food choices and my lifestyle habits that I'm sharing with you today. And it really helped me heal. So One of the things that I did suffer from, and I think that Americans do in general culturally, is the too much syndrome. And this is a mindset, right? This is saying yes to everyone and everything and being busy all the time. I mean, I can't tell you how many colleagues or friends have said, you know, when I would say, oh, I'm really busy, they'd say, oh, you're busy. Oh, that's great, isn't it? And actually, no, it's not. I was so busy all the time that I didn't have a personal life. I didn't have time for self-care. You know, it was just busy, busy, busy. And I also had a lot of, and a lot of people do too, too many shoulds in my life. I should do this, I should do that. And it's a whole mindset. And this is something that I work with clients on, as well, is the whole mindset. If you have energy issues, we have to look at your mindset. And, you know, some clients are busy all the time. They feel like they can't cut a single thing out, but it's sort of like decluttering your closet, right? When you really zero in on what you actually need, you'll find, you know, there are some clothes you haven't worn for 10 years. There are clothes that are stained and ripped. There are clothes that you've outgrown the style, right? So it's the same thing. We just have to really look at what are we prioritizing in our life. And of course, many people today also suffer from FOMO, or fear of missing out, you know, whether or not it's the hottest restaurant to be at or following the hottest guru, whatever it is, that can also be an energy drain. So let's take a look at, you know, one of the things I do with clients who are struggling with energy issues is we look at what the potential energy robbers are. Right? So, and it can happen on many different levels. It can be psychological or emotional. For example, people pleasing, if you have energy vampires in your life, and these can be being involved in toxic or unhealthy relationships. If you're stifling your own authentic voice and conforming to others' expectations, this is something I myself did for many years, that can be a huge energy drain. If you have a perfectionist mindset, as I just shared with you, that can take a huge toll on your energy, as well as unaddressed trauma. And then there's a physiological lifestyle factors, overscheduling work or your personal life, sleeping too few hours or poor quality sleep, over-exercise, you're working out too many hours, too many days in a row without any rest, hormone imbalances or periods of hormone transition like perimenopause or menopause, you know, you'll find that your energy can shift. Food sensitivities or food intolerances, when your immune system is working overtime to cope with food sensitivities, this can be a huge drain on your body. And also over-consuming processed foods, sugar, caffeine, and or alcohol. And of course today, collectively as a culture, we're continually electronically distracted, right? We're talking about the phone, social media, television, watching the mainstream news. I remember when it used to be on just in the evening, and you know, like the 6 o'clock news and then 11 o'clock, but now it's 24/7, right? And so any kind of blue light exposure from your computer screens or your phone or the television after sunset especially, that can be a drain on your energy. So one of the most important and powerful tools that, you know, I myself had to learn, and, you know, I try to help clients navigate as well, is having healthy boundaries. And this is really key to creating stable energy. So, I mean, you can see there's this beautiful house here, and, you know, you have the beautiful lawn, but it has a very sturdy gate, so you know what the boundaries are, right? And so creating healthy boundaries is a process, it's an evolution, it's where you learn to say no, thank you. And then you focus on self-care, you practice self-compassion by the way that you talk to yourself, being less self-critical, right? You reassess your priorities, you know, we just talked about decluttering your closet, and you figure out what is most important to you. And also it's important when you're beginning to set boundaries, and even if you're a veteran, is just to get comfortable with that feeling uncomfortable, especially when others react to your no. And sometimes they will, but that's part of the process. So what I'd like you to do is just take a moment and think, what is the one thing in your life that's draining your energy? It can be a person, it can be a relationship, it can be an activity or lifestyle habit. And if it pops into your mind, just type it into the chat. And I'm going to give you a moment. And I'll just tell you, like, one thing that really shifted for me was, you know, I had a huge perfectionist mindset where I felt like I should be doing hard exercise at least 5 days a week. I was really, you know, if I wasn't going hard, then it was nothing. I hadn't really worked out, right? And so I shifted that, especially after I had my whole physical breakdown, to I simply committed to moving my body every day. And that was something I could do, I enjoyed doing, and it was not a physical stressor on my body. And it also gave me back a lot of energy. So sometimes shifting our mindset, the way that we think about something, can give us back a lot of energy. So now I want you to think of what a low energy day feels like. This can, you know, maybe you had a low energy yesterday, maybe it's most days, that's okay, I've been there. So I want you to kind of just think, what's a low energy day like for you? Was it easy? Was it long? Was it productive? What was your stress level like? Did you feel overwhelmed? Did you exercise? What were your hunger and cravings like? What was your mood like? How did you interact with other people? And I just really want you to connect with how energy has a domino effect on so many other aspects of your life. It's not just, oh, I can't meet this deadline. It really touches every aspect of your life. And so I know for me, if I have low energy, let's say I get 6 hours of sleep instead of the 8 or 9 hours that I need, I most definitely need an alarm to wake up. When I wake up, I'm groggy, I'm irritable, I feel easily stressed and overwhelmed. I have intense cravings for dark chocolate. My digestive system is much more sluggish. So when I eat, I tend to bloat and the food doesn't sit well in my body. I have this low grade all day fatigue. I'm unable to focus and be productive. And, you know, all of these things that happen, I mean, it really contributes to a low mood because I'm not being productive. So I'm angry at myself, right? And then I end up having cravings for the wrong foods. And then that sends me into a roller coaster of energy, ups and downs. Can you relate, Debbie? So now I want you to think of a day when you have maybe you had good all day energy. And if you haven't had that day yet, that's okay. Hopefully after this webinar, we'll get you closer to that place. But, you know, think about, were you more productive? Were you more able to be creative? Did you have more patience? Were you motivated to go outside, to exercise? Did it feel easier to make healthier food choices? Did you experience less hunger, less cravings? Was your mood more stable, positive, optimistic? Were you better able to problem solve? Did you feel more confident and positive? In fact, did you maybe feel that, wow, anything is possible? This is what we would describe as being in the flow, right? And this is the kind of place that we want to be. And in order to have that abundant energy, it's also important to understand, you know, what can rob you of that energy, especially in terms of food, right? Because that's an input that we put into our bodies and our body responds. So top of the list, the foods that are secretly draining your energy are refined carbohydrates. And, you know, we all know what they are, right? It's the pizza, it's the pastries. The pastries were once my Achilles heel. I just had such a weakness for that. And the sandwiches, the burgers, the fries, you know, those huge sandwiches where it's all bread and a tiny sliver of filling, right? So refined carbohydrates, and these are the most common examples. It's generally white foods, right? So anything containing white flour. So you've got the white pasta, the white bread, white rice, pretzels, most cereals, crackers, store-bought baked goods, candy, sugar-sweetened drinks, soda. These are all common examples of refined carbohydrates. And refined foods are not whole foods. And this is kind of the classic example, rice. So here we have this black rice, which is also known as forbidden rice. And this is kind of an ancient whole grain. It's also a complex carbohydrate that has its fiber and nutrients intact. And then you compare it to the white rice, which is, now, white rice isn't something that we typically think of as being a processed food, but in fact it is. It's high in carbohydrates, so there's 45 grams of carbohydrates in 1 cup of cooked white rice, and it's stripped of its fiber and nutrients. So refined foods do not contain fiber or nutrients. And so whole grains like the black rice, they contain these 3 parts: the bran, the germ, and the endosperm. And this is a whole food because you're getting the phytonutrients, the antioxidants, the vitamins, minerals, protein, and fiber. Whereas with the white rice, you don't get the bran, you don't have the germ, you essentially have the endosperm, which is the starch, right? And you know, again, all white rice starts out as brown rice, and in addition to removing the husk, bran, and germ, which removes fiber, vitamins, and minerals, it's artificially fortified with nutrients, and then it's polished in the polishing process to make it look clean, right? It also removes important nutrients like B vitamins, and B vitamins are very important for energy. They're a very important vitamin for energy. So now, if anyone can relate, how many people have felt low energy after eating refined carbohydrates? And you know, you can just type in yes or no in the chat if you have. So this would be that experience where you feel like you just can't keep your eyes open after eating like a big Italian pasta meal, right? Or maybe you've had 4 or 5 slices of pizza, or a big sandwich, which was mostly bread, or a brunch with a nice spread of bagels, muffins, and other pastries, right? And you may feel unmotivated, sleepy, foggy, lethargic, spaced out. I know when I was growing up, my father used to make, around New Year's Eve, he would make Chinese pork dumplings, homemade, right? And I love these dumplings. I would eat 25 of them, right? And literally after the last bite, I was flat on my back. I was exhausted, like snoring away, right? And I didn't think of these dumplings because they were homemade, that it was a refined carbohydrate. But the fact is, my father would use like a whole bag of white flour to make the dough. And, you know, white flour is a very processed food. So that was my experience with low energy. And, you know, when you eat things like the 25 dumplings I would have, or if you're having a few slices of pizza or pasta, refined carbohydrates, as you can remember, they don't contain fiber or nutrients. And because refined carbohydrates don't have fiber or nutrients, they convert to sugar very, very quickly. And then your blood sugar levels skyrocket. As you can see here, it goes up really, really high. And when you have high blood sugar levels in the body, this signals emergency, emergency to the body. And the body responds. The pancreas will pump out insulin to lower the blood sugar, and then the blood sugar drops really rapidly. So that combination, the high blood sugar going up really quickly, and then the insulin going out, and then bringing the blood sugar down very quickly, that is what equals an energy crash. And you can see here, this is just that classic refined carbohydrate blood sugar roller coaster. So unfortunately, the more refined carbohydrates you eat, the more frequent and more intense the sugar cravings you will have, because, you know, you have to keep that kind of the spike going up so that you have energy. It can also make you sleepy and lethargic, and when you feel sleepy and lethargic, what happens? You crave either caffeine or sugar, and that starts you on that whole blood sugar roller coaster again. So when it comes to starchy carbohydrates, you want to choose smart, complex carbohydrates and be mindful of portion size, okay? So for example, that would translate into a medium sweet potato with the skin on, or a small portion, around a ½ cup if you're super active, maybe 1 cup cooked, quinoa, black rice, or black beans. And when I say black beans, I don't mean refried, okay? Just plain black beans. Okay, so we talked about those energy robbers, refined carbohydrates. Now we're going to be talking about one simple way to avoid that mid-afternoon crash. And if any of you have any idea what that might be, type it in the chat. Okay, I'm going to give you 1 second. All right. So you were right if you guessed dehydration. Dehydration is the #1 trigger for daytime fatigue. Okay, and dehydration is lack of water. And water is so, so important because, and unfortunately, 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated. And our bodies are about 60 to 70% water. You know, if you think about the heart and the brain are about 73% water, the kidneys and muscles are 79% water, your lungs are 83% water, your skin's 64% water, even your skin is, even your bones are 31% water. So water is really critical for energy. And when you're dehydrated, this translates into low energy, and some of the immediate effects of dehydration include headaches, fatigue, and sluggishness, brain fog. Dehydration lowers the blood volume in the body, which translates into lower energy. Of course, when you're low energy, you're going to crave more sugar. Toxins also build up in the body, which prevents optimal functioning of the kidneys, the liver, and the bowels. And dehydration also slows metabolism, even if that dehydration is mild. And of course, when you have toxic buildup in the body, the toxins build up, you are constipated, and that constipation will affect your mood. Generally, you'll feel more angry or irritable or anxious, right? So dehydration has multiple effects on the body. Now, I just wanted to share the story with you because this is a client that I worked with, and her name was Louise, and this is not her actual photo, by the way, but Louise is 81. She had a very busy life. She's active in her community, even through 2020. She has 4 sons and multiple grandchildren. However, she was taking multiple medications, and when I say multiple, she was taking 8 different medications. She had anxiety, chronic pain, and experienced low energy. So one of the self-care things that we worked on very consistently was increasing her water intake. And within 4 weeks of increasing her water intake, Louise told me that pain, she was more alert, she had more energy, she had lost weight, and she was very cute because she was so excited about the fact that she was having regular bowel movements 1 to 2 times daily, okay? And that is very healthy because if you have healthy bowels, you'll be moving them 1 to 3 times every day, not once a week, okay? So she is just an example of someone who made one small shift, and it had this huge positive ripple effect on the quality of her life. And she told me she was so happy. I just spoke with her a couple of days ago, and she said, now it's just become a part of my life, always drinking water. Now, how much water do you need? So there's a very simple formula we use to calculate approximately how much water your body needs. And obviously this will fluctuate a little bit depending on how active you are, or how hot or cold it is outside. But you divide your weight in half, and that is equal to the number of ounces of water you should aim to drink. So for example, if you're 160 pounds, you divide it by 2. That's 80 ounces. And 80 ounces divided by 8 ounces, which is essentially 1 8-ounce glass of water, right? That equals 10 8-ounce glasses of water daily. Again, I said this can fluctuate a little bit depending on the weather and activity level as well, but that's generally speaking. So, tips for drinking enough water are, you want to check the color of your pee. Okay, so we see here on the left, at least this is the left to me, this is like, if you're well hydrated, your pee will be a pale yellow or almost clear, versus if you're dehydrated, it's going to be a medium yellow to a dark yellow. And one sidebar here is, if you're taking a multivitamin or a B complex vitamin, your pee can turn really bright yellow, like a neon yellow, not a dark yellow like this, but a neon yellow. So now some people in their homes, they have kind of the dark toilets where you can't really tell what the color of your pee is. So in that case, if you're trying to keep on top of your hydration, all you have to do is get one of those clear plastic cups, pee into it, and then you can take a look and say, hey, am I well hydrated or not, and adjust accordingly. So as you're gradually drinking more water. Just be more patient. Your bladder will adjust to the amount of water that you're drinking. And another point I want to make, and this is something that happened with my father, and especially if you're taking multiple medications, okay, don't wait until you're thirsty to start drinking water, because if you're already thirsty, it's like your gas tank is already on empty and going below empty, right? You're already very well dehydrated. So don't stop drinking water just because you're not thirsty. The thirst feeling goes away before you're even fully hydrated. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so now we know we should be drinking more water. It can, you know, if you're not drinking more water, and I've had clients who are only drinking like two glasses of water a day, if that, how can we more easily get water into our day, right? So here are my tips. You know, set a 16-ounce glass of water on your nightstand and drink that as soon as you wake up. What a lot of people don't realize is a simple act of breathing, and this is especially true if you snore or if you have sleep apnea. You're expelling at least 1 liter of water, you know, through just breathing. So when you wake up, you're very dehydrated. So before you eat or drink anything, drink 16 ounces of water upon awakening. Have a glass of water with or after every meal. Swap out coffee or soda for water. Drink water during and after your workout. Bring water bottles with you wherever you go. You can fill a glass pitcher, or this is like one of my favorite things to do. You know, I take those 32-ounce glass mason jars and I fill 2 of them with water, and then, you know, you can set it on the counter, or if you're working at home, you can just set it on your desk or your table, okay? And some people find it hard to drink water because it tastes plain, in their opinion. I mean, I actually love that plainness, but I understand, you know, people like, you know, find it a little boring. So there are many things you can do to jazz up your water. You can add fresh fruit, of course, lemon or lime. You could also add any kind of berry that you wanted, or kiwi, or, you know, any watermelon, any kind of fruit that you want to sort of flavor it, or fresh herbs like basil is really nice. You can place an herbal tea bag like hibiscus or spearmint in a pitcher of water. And if you drink a pot of herbal tea, something like mint tea or rooibos, that's one of my favorite. Rooibos is a red tea, R-O-O-I-B-O-S. So if you're drinking an herbal tea that is decaffeinated, like no caffeine whatsoever, that counts as water. And if you wanted to sweeten a little bit, you can use some stevia, right? You can make homemade lemonade with water and fresh squeezed lemon juice, again, sweetened with a little stevia. And this is one of my favorites. For me, this is like a glass of wine, mineral water, right? Mineral water also has some minerals in it as well. So some great brands are Gerolsteiner, Pellegrino, and Mountain Valley. And, you know, just to share with you, I had one client, she's 60 years old, and she was diabetic and also on multiple medications, but she was very active. And, you know, she could only drink so much plain water, she told me, and then she would switch off and drink Powerade. So, you know, and I've had other people drink Gatorade, right? So the problem with things like Powerade or Gatorade is that they often contain high fructose corn syrup, which is really toxic to the liver. And then they contain, you know, if you look at it, these are not colors found in nature, right? Like those brilliant neon yellow, reds, and purples and blues, whatever. And they usually use artificial coloring, which is linked with cancer, in the water. And if you're trying to, you know, if you're already struggling with diabetes, you don't want to be drinking something like that. So I had suggested to this particular client, why don't you flavor your water with, you know, fruit, or, you know, just whatever you want, what I'm sharing with you. And so she put strawberries in her water, and she came back to me and she said she loved it, and it was going to become her habit going forward. She understood that, you know, the Powerade wasn't the best choice, right? So now we want to talk about, we're going to shift gears here, and we're going to talk about the fastest way to increase your energy. You know, and if anybody has any ideas, type it into the chat. And I'm going to give you 1 second before I reveal what that is. And it seems very obvious, which is going to sleep, but the key is going to bed at the right time. So there's a famous saying that says 1 hour's sleep before midnight is worth 3 after. And this is so very true because the timing of your sleep really affects your energy level, right? Your sleep consists of 90-minute sleep cycles that alternate between non-rapid eye movement or non-REM sleep and rapid eye movement, otherwise known as REM sleep, right? And the non-REM sleep is that deep restorative sleep. It is really critical for physical restoration, things like human growth hormone and cell growth and processing new information. And this happens earlier in the evening, so definitely before midnight. And 85% of our sleep time is spent in non-REM sleep. REM sleep, on the other hand, is that state of sleep where you dream, right? And this kind of refreshes the brain, and it helps process information and also helps with emotional balance. And it's very important for mental restoration. And the closer it gets to sunrise, the more REM cycles you will have. And 10 to 15% of our total sleep time is spent in REM sleep. So the idea is if you're going to bed at least an hour before midnight, this helps maximize non-REM sleep in the first half of the night. Remember, that's where we spend 85% of our sleep time, and our REM sleep in the second half of the cycle. And this is important because we all have an internal body clock that follows a circadian rhythm, right? And the circadian rhythm is, sort of like following the natural arc of light throughout the day. It's a natural rhythm of the day. And generally between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m., drowsiness naturally builds. Your mind and body are naturally slowing down and becoming more drowsy. So the optimal sleep time is between 10 to 11 p.m. And if you want to get 5 gold stars, you'll be asleep by 10 o'clock. That is really considered optimal. But between 10 and 11 is ideal. And, if I'm giving you a long leash, then, the latest would be 11:30. But, if you're in bed by between 10 and 11, this enables your body to better burn fat, detoxify, and experience deeper and more restorative sleep. Because what happens is because from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., this is the prime healing time. This is when cleansing and detoxification processes take place, especially in the gallbladder and the liver. And, if you're going to bed at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, you're just missing this whole window when your body is really healing. Okay, so we talked about the #1 energy robber, refined carbohydrates, and we talked about the importance of water for energy, and we've also talked about sleep. Now we're going to talk about 5 powerhouse energy boosting foods, okay? So #1 are high fiber fruits and almond butter, right? So this is pretty accessible, it's portable. So a banana and almond butter or an apple and almond butter. A banana contains energy boosting potassium and magnesium. However, it is higher sugar and it is relatively higher in carbohydrates. And that's why you would have the almond butter with it, because it's a protein and healthy fat, and that helps slow the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream. And almond butter itself also contains some important energy boosting minerals like potassium, magnesium, and calcium. With the apple is a high fiber, high water fruit, and it's also rich in potassium. Now it is naturally sweet, okay? If you get those red apples, they're naturally sweet. They contain about 19 grams of sugar, that's almost 5 teaspoons of sugar, right? That's like a medium apple. So you want to eat the apple with the skin on for that extra fiber, along with the almond butter, which, and you don't have to do almond butter. You could also do sunflower seed butter if you wanted to, but it provides the protein and the healthy fat, which slows the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream. And for both fruits, whether or not it's a banana or an apple, what can really help lower that sugar load is if you choose the green version, right? Because if you pick a banana and it's yellow and it's got brown spots on it, it's very ripe, so it's higher in sugar and carbohydrates. Whereas if you get the greener banana, it's lower in sugar. And the same thing with the apple. You want the greener apples, the tart ones like the Granny Smith. That's less sugar. Okay, number 2 are chia seeds, right? Chia seeds are also known as like runner's food or warrior's food. They were a staple in the ancient diet of Aztecs and the Mayans, and who considered this kind of a magical food for energy and stamina boosting. For its stamina boosting properties. And it looks like a sesame seed. As you can see, it's very tiny. It's a plant-based protein. It's very high in good fats, the omega-3 fatty acids, along with fiber and minerals like calcium, iron, and magnesium. And the unique thing about chia seeds are they're hydrophilic, which means water-loving food. So if you combine chia seeds with water, or some other liquid, let's say coconut milk or almond milk, those seeds will expand to 10 times their original size, and then they'll form this gel-like substance. And when you ingest this gel-like substance, it creates a physical barrier between carbohydrates and enzymes that break them down. And this barrier slows down the conversion of carbohydrates into sugar, which stabilizes blood sugar, makes you feel full longer, and gives you more energy, right? So one popular way of eating chia seeds is chia pudding. And I actually have a recipe on my website. If you go to thenourishedepicurean.com and type in chia pudding in the search, that recipe will pop up. And I make mine with a little coconut milk, a little raw honey, and then have it with a few berries. So the link recipe is right there, but it's really tasty. Another energy boosting food are dark leafy greens, things like spinach, Swiss chard, kale, salad greens. And they're very high in fiber, antioxidants, and vitamins and minerals that are essential for energy production, like magnesium, potassium, calcium, and iron. And you can eat them cooked, wilted, braised, steamed, or you can have them raw in salads or smoothie. And the 4th food is organic raw cacao powder. Now, this is not to be confused with cocoa powder, which is roasted at high temperatures and has less nutrition, or chocolate, which is a processed food. And that contains a lot more fat, sugar, and sometimes dairy, depending on the chocolate, right? Raw cacao are unroasted cocoa beans. It tends to be more bitter naturally, but it is a superfood by any standard. It's loaded with antioxidants, fiber, vitamins, minerals, especially magnesium, which is an excellent source of energy. And it also helps balance brain chemistry, which is why people rivet toward chocolate to begin with, right? It kind of gives them that feel-good feeling, and it can help regulate blood sugar. So this is something that you can incorporate into like a little, if you warm up some coconut milk and add some raw cacao powder, you can kind of have a cup of cocoa, or you can add it to smoothies, or make those a little protein balls with them too. 5th, last but not least, is animal protein. Animal protein contains energy boosting nutrients like B vitamins, especially B12, omega-3, heme iron. You can only find heme iron in animal protein, and zinc. And the thing about protein, and this is kind of why those high protein diets are also often very successful and very popular right now, but the protein is broken down very slowly in your body. It helps stabilize blood sugar, and it really provides good energy, right? And you don't have to limit protein to dinner. I myself, for example, I had fish for breakfast this morning, and it doesn't have to be limited to dinner. You can eat it at any meal. For vegetarians, eggs are potentially a good protein source if you eat eggs. And if you're vegan, it's going to be nuts, beans, and seeds if you don't have sensitivities to these foods. Okay, so the 5 powerhouse energy boosting foods are high fiber fruits and almond butter, chia seeds, dark leafy greens, organic raw cacao powder, and animal protein. And I'm just going to quickly recap what we talked about today. I know we covered a lot, and thanks for thanks for hanging out with me till this point. So we talked about the too much syndrome and letting go of the shoulds. We talked about potential energy robbers. We talked about which foods are secretly draining your energy, how to increasing your water intake will boost your energy and metabolism, how tweaking your sleep schedule is the fastest way to increase your energy, and 5 powerhouse energy boosting foods. And, if you're struggling with your own energy issues or wherever you are in your unique particular health journey and you'd like to get some clarity on your health goals and obstacles, I have a special invitation for you. I invite you to do a free 15-minute discovery session with me by phone if you're interested. The link is here. They'll also be under the show notes at Debbie Bergio's website page, which is resourcefair.wintergrace.org. I've enjoyed being here with you, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Oh, wow, Kathryn, you said it's a lot of information, and it was, but it was all, I love the fact that it's a holistic approach.
Yeah.
You're not just talking about food, you're not just talking about sleep, it's a whole body,
Yeah.
whole mental and emotional and physical approach to gaining more energy.
Yes, yes, yes. I know a lot of times we tend to focus only on the food part or the instant quick fix. And, we really kind of want to examine the root cause, so I know for myself personally, it was so much of a mindset shift for me, not to be a perfectionist, not to feel like I was failing if I wasn't productive all the time. I didn't have a personal life. So we really want to take a closer look at what's that root cause of low energy.
I know you had that list of energy robbers at the beginning, and I counted, there were only 2 on there that I didn't used to have an issue with. So I had 14 out of the 16.
Yeah.
So, some work's been done, but which is all good. But so Kathryn, again, your website and information again, please, because I
yes, my website is thenourishedepicurean.com, THENOURISHED, Epicurean, EPICUREAN.com. I feel like I just entered a spelling contest, but that name, The Nourished Epicurean, because so many people have this idea that healthy food choices or eating healthy is really boring or flavorless. That is not my experience at all. I mean, I love food, I love good food, and I love tasty food. So that's why I called it thenourishedepicurean.com. And my other URL is Kathryn, KATHRYN-Matthews, MATTHEWS.com. And again, if one of the best ways to connect with me is by joining my newsletter, because that will keep you up to date on news and free online events that I offer, and delicious recipes. And that's thenourishedepicurean.com/newsletter. And I offer a range of services, including video services, where if you feel a little shy about meeting, I have a link to that too if you want to check it out. It's just, it's very reasonable. It's just an easy way to kind of dip your toe in if you're thinking about maybe working with somebody or getting support. But, you can always start with a free 15-minute discovery session by phone. I'm happy to talk to you. I'm happy to connect with you. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, it's been great to be with you, Kathryn. And also thinking about the foods, you were talking about water. As you increase your water, your body adjusts to it.
It does.
And as you change eating refined carbohydrates, your taste buds shift. And when you try new foods and try these, your taste buds shift. When you think, oh, I'm not going to like that, but you try it and you go, oh, and they shift and they really do respond. And then you get to you'll enjoy the sweetness in whole food like you haven't before.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely right about that, Debbie. I mean, if you would have told me 8 years ago that I'd be eating the way that I'm eating now, I would have said you're crazy, because I love it. Sometimes I would eat a giant hot chocolate chip cookie in the morning, and my thinking was, well,
I'd be asleep in like 10 minutes after that.
Well, I was on my bed in 20 minutes. I was always tired, but I just never made the connection. But I also thought, well, I work out a lot, so I can eat whatever I want. But it really depleted me of energy. I always needed naps. Now I never need to take a nap. I mean, I could if I wanted to, but I don't. I have energy to keep going all day, and it's made a significant change in my life. So, I encourage you to, with the refined carbohydrates, it's just, for some people, it's a slow shift, and the key is just to start.
We had particularly good carrots last night. I roasted vegetables last night. I'm like, wow, these are really sweet. And I had, they were organic carrots. They were, anyway, I was like, wow, these are extra super sweet. And it's, in the past, I never would have thought of carrots as being sweet.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you mean. Well, you know what's really sweet? So what's similar to a carrot? I don't know. Have you ever had a parsnip? Which is
I have. Oh, my daughter loves those.
Oh, so the way that I make it, I actually have this recipe on my website. It's roasted parsnip puree, but it's, you take the parsnips, you peel them like you do carrots, you dice them, you roast them with some olive oil, right? And then while they're still warm, I put them in the food processor, and then I add warmed up coconut milk. I add it to the food processor very slowly, and then I add in some butter, like a tablespoon of butter.
Mm-hmm.
And, so it's a parsnip puree. And I have to tell you, I always joke with my husband, this is like eating dessert. It's naturally very sweet,
Yeah.
and roasting kind of has that caramelization
Oh, yeah.
to it, so it makes it even sweeter, but it's so good. And, all I need is maybe 3 large tablespoons, and I'm full. It's that filling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really great to experiment and when you make these discoveries, it's like, oh, this isn't so bad, and then you start to feel better, and then it just builds on, build on that.
You're absolutely right, Debbie. It does. It does. So, carrots, parsnips. I mean, if you would have told me this 10 years ago, I would have said that is not the same joy
Yeah.
I get as eating a huge chocolate chip cookie or a muffin. But in fact, I don't even crave those foods. I don't eat those foods anymore. So step by step, you'll get there. Definitely.
Absolutely. Well, Kathryn, thank you so much, and I hope everyone will get in touch with you and join your newsletter, because it really is wonderful. And I just appreciate your time and your expertise in sharing it with us.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Anytime. And hopefully we'll do it again.
That would be great. Have a great day.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye.